Hello there, my name is Victor Oguinka, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter.
Interested in this news. Arsenal Spurs club transfer record signed.
Hello and good morning. Of course, welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live, and it's a Friday morning. You know how some people are really excited about Fridays, and we'll be starting off with the front pages of the papers. My name is Precious Chukudi, and on Vanguard, the main headline says Budget 2021 brace up for another recession, says Buhari. The writer says as federal government overshoots a provision of Fiscal Responsibility Act, ramps up debt servicing, says second Niger bridge 46% completed, wants National Assembly against pardon. You can see that story on page 5. And the budget highlights we have power 198 billion naira, works and housing 404 billion naira, transportation 256 billion naira, defense 121 billion naira, agric 110 billion naira, water resources 153 billion naira, industry 51 billion naira, education 127 billion naira, UBEC 70 billion, health we have 132 billion, NDDC 64 billion, and lastly we have zonal intervention projects 100 billion. And on COVID-19 update, we have Lagos records 39 new infections as confirmed cases rise to 59,841. You can see that on page 27. We also have for the story of a gas explosion in Lagos, a scene of gas explosion at Best Roof Cooking Gas Plant at Kando Road, Barua in Ayobo Igbaja Local Council area, Alimosho Local Government of Lagos. On page 10, we have federal government routes for Okonjo-Iweala's WTO candidacy in last-minute delegates consultation. And on stories above, we have NSAS, hashtag NSAS, Policeman, another killed as protests rocks Delta, Edo, Imo, Abuja, others. PTF says COVID-19, Nigeria may record surge in cases. We haven't suspended work in PIB, says Senate. You can see that story on page 6. And on post-COVID-19, World Bank warns Nigeria, Sub-Saharan Africa. You can see that on page 29. And lastly, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have ONDO DECIDES tight security as INEC begins distribution of sensitive materials. And away from the Vanguard, move straight to the Punch newspaper. And on the Punch newspaper, we have debts, salaries take 52.6% as federal government budgets 13.8 trillion naira for 2021. Also, the writer says government plans 4.28 trillion naira new borrowings, votes 3.85 trillion naira for capital projects. PDP reps says budget unrealistic. APC believes proposed spending achievable. And Kano Maradi Rail project will boost our economy, Niger Republic envoy says. And on page 27, I will attend trial when doctor certifies my new healed minor. And on page 17, manufacturers unpaid export grants hit 1.29 trillion naira. Page 17 still, World Bank backs the federal government on petrol subsidy removal. Away from the Punch newspaper, we move straight to This Day newspaper. And on this day, we have Analyst gives quick recovery tips as Buhari forecasts the second recession. The writer says President proposed 13.8 trillion naira budget for 2021. Lawan Gbajabiamila proposed PD passage. Also, another gas explosion kills 5, destroys 44 buildings in Lagos. APC, PDP, ZLP in last-minute rally in ONDO. We can see that story on page 5. Away from this day newspaper, we move straight to the Nation. And on the Nation newspaper, we have main headline says depressed economy will bounce back, says Buhari. President presents a 13.8 trillion naira 2021 budget estimates. 5 dies in Lagos gas explosion, 25 houses destroyed. You can see that on page 4. Anti-SARS protests spread in FCT Edo Kwara. You can see that on page 6. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, we have Lagos pushes economic growth with Ehingbeti. Echo Bridge repair near completion, says Fashola. You can see that on pages 29 of the Nation newspaper. And that's what we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. We're going into the newspaper analysis segment, where I'm going to be joined in by my guest. He's joining us via Zoom. He's in the person of Mr. Abuja Olajigbe, Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Alright, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still today in the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi, and you're welcome to the newspaper analysis segment. But we're going to go on a very short break. We'll be right back.
Hello there, my name is Victor Ogunyika, and you're welcome to the midweek edition of Today in the News, and of course all of those newspapers across the Federation, and looking at the major headlines everywhere.
Over 1,000 people are benefiting from free medical services provided by the FCT chapter.
Arsenal's first club transfer record signed Pep.
Alright, welcome back. You're just joining us still today in the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi, and this is the newspaper analysis segment where I'm joined by my guest via Zoom. He's in person of Mr. Abuja Olajigbe, Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you here. Alright, this morning, one of the things that we've seen is the 2021 budget story as one of the main headlines of most of the papers. And, the president has said that the country is heading for another recession, the second in 4 years. What's your take on what the president has said?
Well, I have seen the budget myself, and you don't need a prophet to tell you that. As a matter of fact, the country has been in a recession. If you look at the budget that is carrying debt service of 3.3 trillion naira, a budget that will be funded by another borrowing of nearly 4.3 trillion naira. It's not a budget that will take the nation out of wood. It's a budget of recession, it's a budget of regression, it's a budget that is not going to lift anybody out of poverty. It's a budget that is likely to push people further into the ladder of poverty. So it's Mr. President saying that recession is knocking. It's not a prophecy. It's a program of fact. It's a declaration of truth. And of course, Nigerians have never lived a life of prosperity in the last 5 years. So adversity continues. It's a budget of extreme. It would have been better that if it were to be a budget of austerity. This is a budget that is neither of prosperity nor of austerity, but a budget that over 52% will be spent on recurrent expenditure as well as debt servicing. So, and the remaining even will be funded by another new regime of loan of over 4 trillion naira. So it's a budget that is carrying, it's a budget that is fearful, it's a budget that you don't know what has become of Nigeria. And this is a country that has been having diverse economic and social challenges that we are grappling with. So I really don't know what to make of this budget.
All right.
It's sad that we have inflation. And it's not backed by thought, it's not driven by intelligence, it's driven by the easy way out, and the easy way out in the last few years has been just go and borrow and pretend that things are right. And here, the chicken has come home to roost. And it's a budget that might not be fulfilled in terms of performance, in terms of allocation. Of course, the capital expenditure is slim, and most of the capital expenditure will go to contractors. And what that means is that human capital development will still suffer. What looks like a big improvement in the budget allocation to health and education will be wiped away by the inflationary rate that is on. So it's a budget that, as a Nigerian, is a dreadful budget. As far as I'm concerned.
All right, you know that the president also made mention that there are plans on ground to ensure rapid recovery, like the 774,000 jobs, the 75 billion naira Nigerian Youth Investment Fund. I want to ask if you think that these these plans in place, do you think there will be enough to pull us out of the impending recession?
Anybody out of any recession or any poverty. That is not job. Job is standardized. Job means a standardized work where an individual is engaged to be productively contributing to the prosperity of society. That is not job. Those are not jobs. They should stop deceiving Nigerians. Those are not jobs. That's 4,000 are not jobs. There are many jobs. One, those who are engaged are apparently, or even when they are engaged, they are underemployed. Underemployment can even be worse, more than employment, because it induces social trauma in the people that are so underemployed. I think we should be serious in this country. I really don't know why we should classify that as job. Job is a standardized, there's a description, a standardized description of what connotes job. How can you give person 20,000 naira for 3 months and call that a job? Maybe it's job for those who we have the expectation from the job. This is job that has no characteristics in this manner, and they are not so described. What do they want to achieve by it? What contribution is it going to make for people? Or that possibly they will be wasted on the hyper transport costs that by those who are engaged, especially in the city. Urban poverty will be enhanced, and of course, social commotion in terms of people rushing for meeting to go and do a job that is non-existent. We equally add to the social body of a place like Lagos with the type of hold up and job hour loss on the traffic. So they should stop classifying this as job. If you want to create job, if you want to lead people out of poverty, you have to define prosperity network where you begin to link these young people. People come out of school with first class, with good grades, and with possibly technical expertise, and you are unleashing them, and you can't just look at a way of creating innovation centers, primarily driven by science and technology plan for them to get engaged, and you are calling this type of job. It's not job, so they should stop deceiving people.
All right, coach.
Look, if this is the idea of what they call job, you will now begin to understand the type of thought that is going to budget, the type of job of thought that is going to political, economic development of the nation. So it's not job that they are giving out. They just want to receive, they just want to mark register and possibly add it together. Deceive Nigeria that out of this social number of jobs we want to create, we have created 774,000. So in fact and indeed, it is not job, because job are defined, and job are classified, job are standardized, job have characteristics that support those who are engaged to perform them. Of course, the society will be happy, they will contribute to the progress and well-being of society, and also they will enhance their own self-esteem and be in social and economic position to assess their own basic needs. If that is done, then you can probably say that you have created job.
All right, could the existence of coronavirus and its aftermath, be enough reason for why we're going into a recession right now?
Well, I just told you that they should not use that as an excuse. Other people in laboratory looking for a way out, how do they turn the adversity of COVID to prosperity? What have we been doing? Other than coming on TV by their so-called VTFA on daily basis to announce and reverse issues and trends, achievements and problems they are encountering, without a definite design of the road out of poverty prosperously. Some people are in laboratory looking for a vaccine, assuming that they get that vaccine. Do you know the impact of that on the economy of such nation? What are we doing? What are we manufacturing? Every disaster, like the one in COVID that we have, every emergency, open doors for new thought, open door for innovation, open door for creatively exploring opportunity provided by such emergencies. So emergency is not only about adversity. So they should stop using blaming COVID for what we are going through in Nigeria. Now that after 5 years, they use 5 years to blame other political parties, other people in government, and now it's COVID. I think it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Nigeria is not only the only country impacted. But okay, was last year better? That is the question. We have social and economic problem that is not frontally addressed. In COVID, you have COVID, can farmer goes to farm where there are diverse form of complex crisis, violence that have taken Nigeria by the jugular. Then if farmers, which is the centerpiece of your production loop, cannot be able to, they are the critical agents of your production loop. to them, to Benin, to Ghana, to other countries, even up to South Africa, because of the free trade agreement that you have entered into. A free trade agreement that you have no product to take to the market. Is that an agreement? Is that how you going to function? This is the problem that was said by some of us who are saying that we ought to have stopped importation of fuel. In times like this, you fall back on that as shock absorber, to absorb economic surge, economic shock, and of course economic problems that are incumbent in a country or a globe emerging from a global crisis like that of COVID. They should stop using COVID as excuse. When there was no COVID, nothing was done, and there is no impact that is made, especially by ordinary Nigerians and the poor.
All right, one of the problems that issues we've always had, with every budget that comes out every year has always been budget padding. And I would like to ask you, how do you think that the government can check against, budget padding, especially on the 2021 budget that is about to be released?
But how much was, despite the fact that the borrowed money of last year was the debt servicing was over 3 trillion last year. Do you know that National Assembly member went ahead to purchase cars for themselves? These are people that should ordinarily be making sacrifice for the nation. How the country not even, in fact, to add insult to injury, that car should have been bought from innocent motors. That means that the money will remain in Nigeria, rather be opted for Toyota, which means that the money was exported from Nigeria. How do you get out of problem with this character, with this characteristics of being lost in foreign taste? How do you get out of problem with that? That is the biggest challenge that we have in Nigeria. Humongous salary, unright salary, unjust salary, illegal salary that they are collecting in the House of Assembly, in the National Assembly. Are they stopped it? How is that going to help the society? These are people that selling House of Rep member, they are legally due to collect a bit over 800,000 naira per month. While the senators in the range of 950,000 naira per month. And these people are collecting millions. And we are talking of recession here. And you want the poor to be listening to recession because it's a good song in their music, it's a good music in their ears. I think we are not serious. In fact, this is even the time to begin to advocate for unicameralism. How do we now begin to, if you want to abolish Senate, we should just abolish the Senate and retain House of Rep, or abolish House of Rep and retain Senate, a unicameral legislature. It's part of the way of cutting costs. Look at the spiral of agencies that are not doing anything. Some of them are moribund. They still carry the current expenditure. Of course, their capital budget is zero in most cases. And you wonder, what are they doing? And you look at a country facing this type of problem, and a president, because of emotion, came out the other day that is extending retirement age of teachers. You can address the issue of teachers by probably paying their salary, by probably increasing their salary. That one is okay. Extending the service year is reducing the capacity of the economy to make the young people get jobs. Because if the aged are not living, the young cannot get jobs. They can't come in. So those are the things that were not brought into thought in most of the policies that they just pronounce as if there's nobody to listen and analyze and give balance in terms of cost-benefit analysis of that policy. So if we are going through that type of problem and we're having that pronouncement, I told you the other day, even the so-called increment will not be paid. Because this budget will be mainly serviced by 4.3 trillion new debt, according to the budget. And is 3.4 trillion naira. So whether do you go with that type of budget? What type of development do you have? What type of growth do you achieve with that? These are things that we don't reflect on as a nation. And let me shock you, they will still begin to pay. No legislator in Nigeria. A legislator will be having 28. Have you seen a country like that? Some of them are having up to 100. I'm just being conservative in terms of number. And these people will not even pay them more than maybe 50,000 and pocket the rest of the money that they collect from the cost of the federal government. Is this not the time for sacrifice? Is it the time for opulence? Being opulent with a public fund? So we have diverse problems that are not confronted. So I don't want to hear what because of COVID. Because of COVID, you are buying a car within the context of COVID. Expensive cars that are not in reality in consonance with the economic reality of the nation. And to have insult to injury, as I've told you, they were imported and not bought from not locally made or fabricated vehicles like such of innocent that will make the money to remain in Nigeria. So what type of economic malaise, economic program is that? Can that define roads to prosperity or road out of recession, even if you enter it? Or people are permanently in recession. We are not entering recession.
All right, let's go on a very short break, and then when we come back, we'll discuss further on other matters. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're talking about the 2021 budget, and we're focusing now on SARS operative. And it's been one of the burning topics since the beginning of this week. He started from the streets of social media, and now it's now on the streets. And police personnel clashed with protesters in Benin City, Edo, Owerri, Ughelli, Delta, as calls for scrapping the hashtag Federal SARS. Has taken. My question is that there are a lot of factions of people who are coming out to say that should they really be scrapped, because they also have their advantages. That's why I'm asking you right now, Mr. Benro. What's your take on this? Should they really be scrapped? Because we've had lower cases of armed robbery really happening. Now, if we take these people out, what exactly is going to happen to our security challenges?
Well, I really don't know where you are getting your data at the lower level of armed robbery. Look, armed robbers, there is a crime. When society prepares crimes, there is a way things, and there is change in dynamics of crime. The change you are seeing is not a reduction, but most armed robbers have migrated to kidnapping, abduction. That is what is happening. Because economy in most cases has relatively been digitalized. Most people carry cards, and most people are not with the money. So rather than robbing the money, they are carrying the owner of the money now in form of being kidnapped, in terms of that. So it's a change in crime dynamics, and not necessarily reduction in one. It's still there. The fact is that the country is unsafe, and you cannot add to that tragedy by empowering those who have responsibility to protect and create atmosphere for order, killing people, destroying that. I emphasize that because one, they are now they are with what they call Yahoo Yahoo and every other thing. Look, assuming that Yahoo Yahoo is a blossoming market in Nigeria, what ought to have done is to have a very intelligent officers dedicated to this, who are vast in technology, who are vast in everything. In fact, somebody can be doing it in your house because you have technological equipment. You can track the person. Tracking the person does not mean that you have to kill the person. Some of them can even be converted to another thing. It's not every crime you punish in a developing society. Assuming that you have somebody that is creative and innovative, though negatively, using computer and everything, what prevents you from arresting the person? And of course, court cannot begin to even sentencing them for training and for social orientation. Not to go and kill them, not to go and destroy them, not to go and then the one that is abstractly criminal, then you cannot begin to deal with those one in a very decent and civilized manner. That is characteristic of police anywhere in a decent world. So it's not about they are doing this or whether the question I ask is that is it that ordinary police cannot, okay, what are they doing now? Ordinary police, are they not arresting armed robbers? Are they not arresting other people? So what is special about SAS? SAS has become a class of its own, a very monstrous class within the police social interface with the public. And when a group becomes destructive to the ends to which that group is created, it's better to abolish that group. So I support those who are saying that SAS should be ended. In fact, it should be scrapped. The memory should never be had anywhere in Nigeria. Let police be properly trained, properly resourced, properly positioned, properly enhanced, properly supported, properly motivated, so as to perform policing work. And not creating hydra-headed monster to add to the one we have in Nigeria. And how do you see it? Non-state actors are killing, and state actors are equally doing that. What is the difference between that and Boko Haram? When you arrest and you carry POS there, and you ask them to go and withdraw money to give you, what does that robbers do? So what you can say is that they have become joint ownership of criminal enterprise, and they should be scrapped.
All right, let's look at tomorrow ONDO State will decide who their governor is going to be, and the state is set already, and no fewer than 40,000 security operatives have been deployed to Ondo for the exercise. But then the two major political parties have raised alarm over importation of political talks into the state. What are your thoughts on what they are saying?
Well, I am personally concerned about Ondo election. Even though I registered in Lagos, I vote in Lagos. Ondo is my place. So I am at home with their what is going on there, and with the interests of the two parties. And I hope we have learned from what happened in 1983, where there was massive destruction of lives and properties because of politics, because of intolerance, because of what was not. It's so shocking that Ondo State witnessed the quantum of violence during campaign. But having said that, with the agreement with some intervention, I don't think there will be post-electoral violence in the state. There might be skirmishes after the announcement of results, because I feel that the frontliners in the race, they are very strong and they are likely to win margin is likely to be slim. It's likely to create a sort of anguish and anger that will metamorphose into a political violence entrepreneurs who are within the political party, especially those who are buying votes. They should focus on them from today. They should be intelligent enough to look out specifically for these categories of people and don't wait till tomorrow. And if they are able to make good example of the prominent one, especially today, and announce it to the public, that will deter others from doing same tomorrow. So it's election. I pray that it ends well. Ondo State, my appeal to them is that nobody's ambition, like they say, is what they are blood. It's not even what they are speak, because these are the people who underperform when they come to office. The benchmark in Ondo State that I used to mention them, the other day I was asking the question, what is the integrity quotient of those that are even in the front line? And my benchmark is the former governor of Ondo State, Michael Adekule Ajasu, with little resources, with spartan discipline, with commitment to development, establish a lot of industries, build universities, declare free education, even up to that university level, and good health care then, stray consciously into business environment, like creating enterprise like Owena Bank, Owena Hotel, confidence insurance, as many as possible in Ondo State, making the citizens to get employment. But in the last 5 years, I just want one that the last 4 years that the current regime has done. It's not peculiar to him, others like that. So you don't waste your life because of those people. Go vote as citizens, be peaceful, and don't join the violent gang that will create disruption in the electoral system. I think INEC should be willing and should be able to sustain the aim of their victory and commendation on Edo election. So they should not backtrack.
All right, a civil rights organization, that's Yaga Africa, has expressed concern over the reliance of INEC on members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, that's the NURTW, to transport election materials to all the 18 councils area of Ondo State. Now, if this is really true, don't you think that this could be used by politicians to undermine the elections?
In fact, I commend, because me too, I have identified that. I commend Yaga for doing that. Because one, if you go to Ondo State, the road transport employer has been compromised. They are the king and kitty of the present governor of Ondo State. In fact, they deliberately created harm and created a pool for them, so of interaction as political arm of the governor's campaign trail. So such characters should not be used to create to transport electoral materials anymore, because their position is obvious to average Yoruba person. I was there last week. I did a bit of my work. I left for Lagos less than a week from there, and I was able to see what was going on the ground. And those who are very concerned about the electoral matter, the way I've been doing electoral matter or myself, I don't go there when it's just 1 week for election. I've led several electoral work, particularly when the one we did in 2010 in Anambra State. I was there a month before them to look at the preconditions of the election conditions, and the post-election conditions, and you can reasonably project what is likely to happen. I think Yaga Africa has situated it well, because, and like I say, rigging does not happen on the day of election. It's principally, primarily, and cardinally pre-election matter. Because they plan it, they know they teach their own people. And you can see people surprised. These are people, INEC should be sensitive to people's opinion. the appointment of a returning officer that I think PDP has criticized that. I think that is in order. You can't go and take a returning officer from Akeredolu's and to go to become your chief returning officer in election that is the stakeholders are mutually suspicious of one another. It's not a thoughtful decision from INEC. INEC should quickly address all these fears so that we go to election and come out with free, fair, credible, violence-free election.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gbenrola Jigbe, Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Yeah, we hope to talk to you tomorrow too concerning the elections.
All right, I have accepted that.
Okay, all right. You can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing across your screen, as well as you can go on our website www.vanguardngr.com to find out more about our top stories. Till I come your way next time, I remain Precious Chukudi, and thank you for watching. Have a fabulous weekend.